Wasn't that one heck of a series, was it? Well, if you want exciting series with ups and downs, no matter what team you're following, if you're on the Calgary Hitmen side or the Lethbridge Hurricanes side, you came to the right place for a recap. So anyway, let's cue that intro card here, shall we? Hi there, it's Brett Hornby here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel here. This is where I recap Calgary sports here, and in this case, this is my Calgary Hitmen in the WHL playoffs. Here we are to episode number 15, and this is now recapping what happened in the first round series between the Calgary Hitmen and the Lethbridge Hurricanes here. If you watched the previous episode, I previewed the series and gave my takes after reading a couple articles and getting a preview and looked at how the season series went and ultimately gave my prediction here. And I'm going to say this playoff series definitely had a little bit of everything from both sides here, and it definitely, let's say, lived up to it. And sometimes what happens in the regular season, you can just toss out the window in the playoffs here, and this definitely applied here. So bring my notes here, and I'm definitely going to say grab a snack, grab your drink of choice here, because, when I say it's a best of 7 series, well, this was definitely the best of and required 7 games to actually play to give you an idea how the series went here. So let's get going and let's flash back here what happened here and find out at the end who won here. So anyway, as we know that this was the Eastern Conference Quarterfinal, round 1 here. The Lethbridge Hurricanes were the 2nd seed in the Central Division, and the Calgary Hitmen were the number 3 seed in the Central Division here. So the Lethbridge Hurricanes had home ice advantage here. They had the extra home game in the series, and also with them finishing 12 points ahead of the Calgary Hitmen, and the fact that the Lethbridge Hurricanes won 5 out of 6 games in the season series here, they were definitely favored to take this series here, and the Hitmen definitely came to play here. So let's get going here. So game 1. So game 1 of the first round series happened on Friday, March the 22nd. This was in Lethbridge at the NMAX Center with the 7 p.m. puck drop here, and this definitely was an exciting start to the series. Give you an idea of what to come here as the series comes on here, and actually the Calgary Hitmen drew first blood in this game as Mark Kaslick, the captain, scored the first goal in the series and gave Calgary a 1-0 lead, and it was 1-0 for the Calgary Hitmen after the first period there. However, the Lethbridge Hurricanes fought back here early in the second period at 1.5 minute mark. Nick Henry, as they fought back big time here, as Nick Henry scored for the Lethbridge Hurricanes, but Devin Klassen for the Calgary Hitmen 2 minutes later scored, so it was 2-1 for the Calgary Hitmen early in the second period here. And then Dylan Cousins for the Lethbridge Hurricanes ties it up at the 11-minute mark of the second period. So it was 2-2 after 2 periods here, and it was definitely excuse me, I've been battling a cold here, so hopefully I won't be coughing too much during this recap here, but it was definitely a very rough second period here, as start of the series here, you get bad blood knowing that you're going to see each other potentially for up to 7 games here every other night. So it was 2-2 after 2 periods there. Second period definitely featured a lot of roughing penalties here on both sides. Scrums after the whistle, all that wonderful stuff here, signifying that we're playing for the playoffs now, and there's a chance to get the Edge North Cup for the league title, and to get a berth into the Memorial Cup, which is in Halifax, Nova Scotia this year. So, the game stayed 2-2 all the way until the third period, until overtime. And overtime in the playoffs is sudden death. They keep playing till somebody scores, and it's 5-on-5 here. So that's the beauty of playoff hockey, as no more shootouts, no 3-on-3, no gimmicks. So it was 2-2 going into overtime here. And then at the 5:43 mark of the overtime period here, Caitlin Addison for the Lethbridge Hurricanes scores it to give the Hurricanes a 3-2 win, and it was their first lead in the game because they never took a lead at all. But they drew first blood overall, so the Lethbridge Hurricanes took game one, so they're up 1-0 in the series here. Caitlin Addison, I just want you to remember that name as you get into later in the recap here. Just bear with me as we get later in the series here. So the goaltending, it was definitely a goaltending duel here for both sides, which was kind of a part of throwing what happened in the regular season out the window here, because both teams definitely put up the goals. And so Jack Benott for the Calgary Hitmen and Carl Tekiak for the Lethbridge Hurricanes put on the clinic in the game there. The shots were even at 33 apiece. In total here, I'll say in overtime, the Lethbridge Hurricanes did outshoot the Hitmen 4-3 there. So despite the overtime loss, it was nothing to be too bummed about for the Calgary Hitmen here, and it was very entertaining to kick things off. So game one went to the Lethbridge Hurricanes here. So game two on the next night here on Saturday, March the 23rd, it was once again in Lethbridge at the NMAX Center here, and it was a quick turnaround to see who would show up here, and never know in playoffs, maybe emotions will carry forward from game one here. And I did feel in my preview here, given how this matchup was set, that I felt that we needed to get the split coming home to have a chance here. And that's what I felt coming into this game, that it almost felt like a must win here. I mean, ideally, you're not totally in trouble if you're down 2-0 here, but if you look at the NHL stats, they say teams that were down 2-0, come back in the series to win it, 80, or only throw up 13% of the time or something like that. That if you're up 2-0 in a playoff series, you have an 87% chance of winning it, which means that you would have to win 4 of the next 5 here. But unfortunately, you're in the first period here, this would really sump the Calgary Hitmen here. It's nearly 24 seconds into the game here. Nick Henry put the Lethbridge Hurricanes up 1-0, so it was 1-0 already for the Lethbridge Hurricanes here before maybe some fans got to their seats there, or got into the game there. And this definitely felt familiar to if you were following the Flames there a couple years ago when we took on the Anaheim Ducks there. It was like already it was 1-0 there. It's, if you're already down 1-0 a few seconds in, it's like you might as well tell the scorekeepers we all agreed to be down 1-0 here. So that was 24 seconds in, but it's still a long game here. However, the Jake Precision Show took over here as he scored both goals. 2 more goals in the second period here, or first period. Sorry, the cold's talking here. So that, like I said, Nick Henry scored 24 seconds in. Then the 12 and 19 minute marks of the first period there, Jake Precision scored both goals. So next thing you know, it was 3-0 for the Lethbridge Hurricanes after the first period there. It stayed 3-0 in the second period as there was no scoring, but the Calgary Hitmen weren't able to get back into the game offensively. And then Jake Precision completed the natural hat trick there. Natural hat trick is if you scored 3 straight goals here. So he scored to the 9-minute mark, just before the 9-minute mark of the third period, to give Lethbridge a 4-0 lead, and it was looking great for the Lethbridge Hurricanes to be leaving town up 2-0 when the series shifts to Calgary here. And Dakota Krebs for the Calgary Hitmen at least got us on the board here about 2.5 minutes later, but the Lethbridge Hurricanes ultimately took this game 4-1 and take the series lead 2-0 to come to Calgary here. One thing to note, though, in Game 2 here was definitely much, much more aggressive than the first period here. Let's say it was definitely a lot more chippy, a lot more physical, a lot more stuff off the play here. The referees were definitely busy, breaking things up here. As let's make a note here is that Jordy Bellivier took a game misconduct in the second period, as well as Mark Kaslek, and then Mark Kaslek also got injured in the play, with a concussion there. And then the third period featured more roughing penalties there, as Caden Elder and Nick Henry took coincidental minors in the third period there. Then the last minute of play, things got really silly here as it was out of hand. Playoff intensity, frustration comes in, especially when the game's out of hand. Jackson Van Der Leest and Cole Wilson, they had coincidental roughing penalties. And then for Lethbridge, Nolan Jones, Scott Mahovich, and Jackson Shepard. While on the Calgary side, Devin Klassen, Lane Toller, and Vladislav Yuramenko were all tied for fighting and got game misconduct with seconds left in the game. So a lot of players got to leave a little early and enjoy an extra hot shower there, as they vented out some frustration here. This definitely notes the fact that Jake Leschizien got the hat trick for the Lethbridge Hurricanes with 3 goals here, and Jordy Bellivier had 2 assists for the Hurricanes there to lead the way. And then I said the only thing I can really highlight here for the Calgary Hitmen is that they outshot the Lethbridge Hurricanes by a slight margin of 33-32 here. Jack Benatin was in net for the Calgary Hitmen the whole game, and Karl Tekiak definitely showed up, outdueled Jack Benatin in this game. So now the series shifts to Calgary here with Lethbridge up 2-0 here, and I felt definitely things were looking a little bleak here. But as the old saying goes, you're not in trouble. They always say you're not in trouble until you lose on home ice in the playoffs, and Calgary has not played at home ice yet. So Game 3 happened on Tuesday, March the 26th at the Scotiabank Saddledome, 7 p.m. puck drop. This was definitely getting into must-win territory for the Calgary Hitmen here, because they were down 2-0 in the series, and hopefully maybe some dome cooking, and maybe we'll win a couple games at home and maybe go back to Lethbridge, tied at 2-2 here. That's the immediate goal right now here. So the Calgary Hitmen definitely was in must-win territory, and it'd be interesting to see if any of that funny rush stuff happens in the third game here. And actually, it didn't happen, because the Calgary Hitmen realized the urgency of being at home down 2-0 here. Quickly got on the board here as Ryder Korzak for the Calgary Hitmen scored at the 3.5-minute mark, and then Carson Fook scored a minute later. So Calgary took a quick 2-0 lead here, and so it was 2-0 for the Hitmen. 4.5 minutes in the game, exactly the start that they needed to get back into the series here. And then it stayed 2-0 for Calgary until about the 9-minute mark of the second period, because it was 2-1 after 1 here. So getting in the second period, Josh Prokop added to the tally for the Calgary Hitmen. So it was 3-0 for Calgary. So perfect, almost halfway through the game here, up 3-0, trying to get back in the series here. However, the Lethbridge Hurricanes did answer back, literally 38 seconds later, as Dylan Cousins put Lethbridge on the board. And at the 17.5-minute mark of the second period here, Zach Stringer scored. So that was 3-2 for the Calgary Hitmen after the second period here. So the Calgary Hitmen were on their heels here a little bit, as the Lethbridge Hurricanes, of course, were looking to win one in Calgary and take a commanding 3-0 series lead here. However, despite the Lethbridge Hurricanes coming out stronger in the third period here, the Calgary Hitmen, after the Calgary Hitmen had the jump in the first here, Carson Fook scored once again for the Calgary Hitmen. 5 minutes later, actually both Carson Fook scored twice in the third power play here. At the 6-minute mark, Carson Fook, scored again for the Calgary Hitmen in the game, so it was 4-2 for the Calgary Hitmen. But Dylan Cousins, 5 minutes later, makes it a 4-3 game for the Lethbridge Hurricanes there to follow along here. So it was 3-2 for the Calgary Hitmen after the second period here, and then Carson Fook scored his second of the game to make it 4-2 for the Calgary Hitmen, and then Dylan Cousins made it 4-3. And things got tense and anxious in the third period, knowing that it was a one-goal game. could swing either way here, but the Calgary Hitmen got to breathe a little sigh of relief here as Luke Coleman put away in the empty net with literally 5 seconds later for the 5-3 win, and more importantly, that gives Calgary a win in the series here. So it was 2-1 for the Lethbridge Hurricanes as the Calgary Hitmen takes Game 3 here. So slightly getting back into the series here. And who led the way for the Hitmen? Well, Carson Fook. 2 goals and assists here. And then, excuse me, and then Luke Prokop chipped in with 2 assists while his brother Josh had a goal and assist there. Dylan Cousins for the Hurricanes led the way with 2 goals himself. Calgary did outshot the Lethbridge Hurricanes 36-29, and let's not forget that the 26 saves Jack Minan made, he definitely was the story here to backstop the Calgary Hitmen and get them back in the series here. Carl Check for the Lethbridge Hurricanes counter with 31 saves here. This game was definitely a lot more tamer compared to the first games here. I mean, there weren't any fighting or any game misconduct dished out here. So after it's Game 3, so far the home team has won every game. Lethbridge won the first 2 in Lethbridge, and then Calgary won Game 3. So it was 2-1 for the Lethbridge Hurricanes here. So Game 4 here happened on Thursday, March 26th at the Scotiabank Saddledome again. Goal's obvious. Calgary Hitmen was looking with renewed confidence here to want to tie this thing up at 2-2 to go back to Lethbridge here. This was definitely a huge swing game because it was either going to be 3-1 Lethbridge, with Lethbridge coming home to a chance to win it, or the Calgary Hitmen force it to make it 2-2 and to make it essentially a best of 3. So let's see what happens here in Game 4 here, as we like the first game here. The Calgary Hitmen strike early. This time Riley Stotts at 3.5 minutes a game gave Calgary a 1-0 lead here, and it stayed that way for the whole first period. But the Lethbridge Hurricanes definitely were outplayed Calgary at times in the first period there, so Jack Minan definitely had to stay strong for the Hitmen here. Lethbridge got rewarded with their strong play early in the second period here as Jake Gilmer at the minute mark tied the game up at 1-1 there. And then Calgary did have a stronger second period and answered back here as they scored James Malm, one of the leading scorers of the season here. Scored his first of the playoffs, put Calgary back up 2-1 here, but Logan Bartlock for the Lethbridge Hurricanes did tie it up at 2-2. This all happened just before the 13-minute mark of the second period there, and it stayed 2-2 until Josh Prokop scored the go-ahead goal with the minute and a half mark. They make it 3-2 for the Calgary Hitmen here. So it definitely got tense there, but the Josh Prokop opened up the gates here in the third period there. The Vaslav Yuramenko scored at the 5-minute mark. Third period to make it 4-2, and then Luke Coleman put another one in the empty net. 18 minutes into the third period there, as Lethbridge was trying to, get the upper hand early with the extra attacker. So it was 5-2 for the Calgary Hitmen after the empty net goal, and ultimately the game ended 5-2 for the Calgary Hitmen. So we're going back to Lethbridge, all tied up at 2-2 here. And it's definitely been what we call a homer series so far, as the home team has won every game here. Penalties were nothing extracurricular in this game here. So who led the way for the Calgary Hitmen to tie it up at 2-2 here? Well, Riley Stotts had a goal and 2 assists here. Plus Ryan Kozak chipped in with 3 assists. And then Carson Fook had 2 assists here on the Lethbridge Hurricanes side of the puck here. Jake Gilmer had a goal and an assist there. And then actually Lethbridge outshot the Calgary Hitmen 39-35 here. So Jack Minan, one of the stars of the game, was huge again with 37 saves. And Jack Check had 30 saves for the Lethbridge Hurricanes here. So as I say, it's all tied up 2-2 here. Essentially it's a best of 3 now. And also the fact that if the Calgary Hitmen were to win the series, they would need to win one in Lethbridge here, either 8-5 or 7 at this point here. And also, let's take note here that the World Curling Championships were happening in Lethbridge, and they were going to be held at the NMAX Center there, which happens after the Brier there. Actually, Kevin Cooey won for Alberta in the Brier there, so he was curling for Team Canada down there in Lethbridge. So this is why the Game 5, which happened on Saturday, March the 30th, back in Lethbridge here. This happened at the Nicholas Sharon Arena, 7 p.m. puck drop here. And actually, the MX Center, I think it holds about 5,600 fans here. Nicholas Sharon, they can maybe get 1,200 fans in. And that arena is near the University of Nicholas Sharon, while the MX Center is near the Lethbridge College there. So, so it'll be interesting to see what Game 5 has in store here, as the home team has won both games. Lethbridge won the first two, and Calgary won the next two here. So here we are at the Nicholas Sharon Arena here, and the Calgary Hitmen, knew they had to at least get a game in Lethbridge if they were going to take the series here. And then how I could sum up this game, it was definitely a lot closer to how the season series went, in terms of there were lots of goals for both sides here. And Calgary Hitmen did start off strong in this game, as the first goal was Luke Coleman at the 7-minute mark, and then Mark Kaslick, who returned to the lineup after having a concussion in Game 2. So at the 16-minute mark, so first Luke Coleman, and then Mark Kaslick scored, so it was 2-0 for the Calgary Hitmen late in the first period there. And then a minute later for Lethbridge, Jordy Belvier scored the late one to put Lethbridge on the board, so it was 2-1 for the Calgary Hitmen after the first period here. And then the second period featured a lot of goals, and in fact for both sides in total there were 7 goals in this game. So 7 goals just in the second period alone here. Let's start off with Josh Prokop for the Calgary Hitmen. He scored 30 seconds into the second period there, so it was 3-1 for the Calgary Hitmen. And then Lethbridge, Jake Leschizin made it 3-2 just before the 3-minute mark, so Lethbridge was fighting back here. And then Vladislav Yeremenko for the Calgary Hitmen scored just under 2 minutes later, 4-2 Calgary Hitmen. And then Nick Hurley 4 minutes later, and then Logan Bards past the 12-minute mark, both for the Lethbridge Hurricanes here, struck right back here. So next thing you know, it was a 4-4 game going into the second half of the second period there. And then Gail Zimmerman, just before the 18-minute mark, put the Calgary Hitmen back in the lead at 5-4 there. And then there were 24 seconds left into the second period there. Captain Mark Kaslick struck again, scored to make it 6-4 for the Calgary Hitmen, and it was 6-4 after the second period there. So there was your 7 goals there. Wow. I mean, so much for, tight defensive playoff hockey here. And then it stayed that way until the 15-minute mark of the third period there. So after a crazy second period there, it stayed 6-4 Calgary. And then Jake Leschizin again scores to make it a 1-goal game. So it was 6-5 for Calgary there. And then with a chance to take the series lead. And that's what happened here, is that Calgary was able to hang on and definitely took the series lead here with a 3-2 win here, setting up a chance to actually win it all at the next game at home at the Scotiabank Saddledome here. So now the Lethbridge Hurricanes are facing elimination here after they won the first 2 games, and the Calgary Hitmen won 3 straight here. So and also in this game, the Calgary Hitmen definitely outshot the Lethbridge Hurricanes 42-34 here, and they also got 2 more goals on the power play there. So I figured that coming into this series that the Calgary might have a chance if they exploited the penalty kill of the Lethbridge Hurricanes there, and they definitely did in this game. It was definitely a much tougher game back in Lethbridge here, but there was no fighting there. I mean, now we're getting to the point where games mean a lot more. You don't want to do too many silly stuff later in the playoff series here. So who led the way for the Calgary Hitmen? Well, the captain, Mark Kaslick, had a goal and 2 assists, plus Dakota Krebs chipped in with 3 assists. Last Yeremenko, Karel Zimmerman, and Luke Coleman each had a goal and assist there. And then Lethbridge Hurricanes, they were led by Jake Leschizin with 2 goals, and Caden Addison had 3 assists there, but that's not the reason why I wanted to bring that name up. He'll come up big time in the next game here, when I get there. So for the goaltending story. Jack Menon was in for the whole game and stopped 29 saves for the Calgary Hitmen there. Carl Chekiak did start for the Lethbridge Hurricanes there, made 32 saves, but he was chased after the fourth goal there, and then Brian Thompson came in relief, made 4 saves there. He actually got the loss because he was in that when the game-winning goal happened for the Calgary Hitmen there. So here we are. Calgary Hitmen got their 1 win in Lethbridge there. If they're going to take the series here, hopefully Game 6 they'll have a chance to finish off the Lethbridge Hurricanes at home here. And it happened the next afternoon here. So Game 6 happened on Sunday, March the 31st at the Scotiabank Saddledome. 4 p.m. puck drop here, and Calgary had a chance to close things out. And I'm going to say this game definitely was a classic and definitely had a classic finish here. If you follow along here, what happened here. So first, there was definitely lots of offense again in this game, just like Game 5 here. Calgary did strike fast again as Caden Elder scoring the first minute of the game. So already it was 1-0 for the Calgary Hitmen. Things were looking rosy. They were going to finish off the Lethbridge Hurricanes and win 4 in a row after losing the first 2 games. But Lethbridge, knowing that this is the first elimination game of the series here, answered back on their own as Zachary Cox, literally a minute later, put Lethbridge on the board. Dylan Cousins, a minute and a half later, which makes it 2-1 later. And then at the 3-minute mark. So a minute later, you had Zachary Cox, and then literally a minute and a half later, so it was 2-1 for the Lethbridge Hurricanes, and they only played 3.5 minutes of the first period there. Then 3 minutes later, Lethbridge adds the lead. Jordy Bellinger on the power play puts Lethbridge up 3-1 here. So suddenly the mood is different here. And it stayed that way until 6 minutes later when Cale Zimmerman got the Calgary Hitmen back into the game there, so it made it 3-2. And that's how things were after the first period there. It was 3-2 for the Lethbridge Hurricanes there. And then Devin Klassen for the Calgary Hitmen scored the only goal in the second period here. Has the 5.5 minute mark, so it was 3-3. Setting up for an amazing third period in the first elimination game of the series here. So it was 3-3 going into the third period there. And Jack Menon definitely was a big reason why it stayed 3-3 there, because the Lethbridge Hurricanes outshot the Calgary Hitmen 14-5 just in the second period alone there, knowing that they were playing for their playoff lives here. So, third period here comes. Had Nick Harry scoring close to the 3-minute mark to give the Lethbridge Hurricanes a 4-3 lead here. So, and then, however, past the 11-minute mark, so we're a little past the halfway mark of the third period there, Ryder Korzak tied things up, 4-4 there. Although just about 30 seconds later, Jake Leschyshyn scores again to make it 5-4 Lethbridge Hurricanes here. Lethbridge Hurricanes just don't want to go away here. And then just past the 13-minute mark, which was just over a minute 15 after Jake Leschyshyn scored, James Brown for the Calgary Hitmen ties things up, so it was 5-5. Then, at the 17.5-minute mark, Mark Kaslek for the Calgary Hitmen scores to put them up 6-5 here. So picture that, there's about 2.5 minutes to go in the third period here. You're up by a goal. You're up in the series 3-2 at home here. You just think, just hang on here. Let's just hang on here and we'll win the game and move on here. However, with the goalie pulled and the extra attacker on the ice here, at the 19:27 mark of the third period, Kalen Addison, the guy who scored the overtime winner in Game 1 and had a big game individually in Game 5, tied it up at 6-6. That was definitely, deflating and a little bit of a heartbreaker. At 19:27, just over 30 seconds left in the third period there. Goalie pulled, Kalen Addison scored, it was 6-6. So we needed overtime for this game. Calgary Hitmen still potentially were literally a shot away from finishing off the Lethbridge Hurricanes and move on to the second round here. However, the Lethbridge Hurricanes had some other plans here. As at the 3:57-minute mark of overtime, Taylor Ross of the Lethbridge Hurricane scores the overtime winner to give them the 7-6 win in overtime and ultimately tying the series at 3-3 and needing a Game 7 back in Lethbridge there to decide it. The one storyline here that definitely hurt the Calgary Hitmen in this game is that the penalty kill definitely hurt them because the Lethbridge Hurricanes did score 3 goals on the power play there, and they said they couldn't hang on there, especially when they had that late lead to finish off and not need a Game 7 here. But still, who led the way for the Calgary Hitmen? Well, Cale Silverman led the way with a goal and 2 assists. Dakota Krebs had 2 assists, and then trio Mark Kaslik, James Malum, and Caden Eller all each had a goal and assist for the Hitmen there. On the Lethbridge Hurricanes side of the puck, well, Kalen Addison definitely is known for, well, just based in this series, definitely scored some clutch goals here. Had that goal, that tying goal, and 3 assists. Plus Ross Taylor and Jake Leschizin had a goal and 2 assists. Dylan Cousins chipped in with a goal and assist, and Scott Mahovich had 2 assists there. And then overall, the Lethbridge Hurricanes outshot the Calgary Hitmen 41-33 in total here. In overtime, actually the Calgary Hitmen outshot the Lethbridge Hurricanes 3-2 here, looking to finish it off, but wasn't meant to be in this day. Jack Manhattan had 34 saves for the Hitmen, while Kokchak had 27 saves. Both goalies stayed in the game there, and after the home team winning the first 4 games, the road team has won the past 2 here, so this sets up a Game 7. Game 7 is what's needed here. That happened on Tuesday, April 2nd, back in Lethbridge and back in the Nicholas Sharon Arena because of the World Curling Championships. Made the MX plays unavailable there. So it all comes down to whoever wins this game here and gets to advance to the Eastern Conference semifinal here. So who won this game? Well, it's been a great series up to this point here, but here we go. The first period, both teams came out flying, but the Calgary Hitmen did score an early power play goal as Carson Fuchs scored at the 3.5-minute mark to give Calgary an early 1-0 lead there. So always nice to strike first in the elimination deciding game here. And then it stayed 1-0 here until the 15-minute mark of the first period when Ryder Fitter Schultz put Calgary up 2-0 here. And then a minute later, Carson Fuchs again scored the 4th of his series to make it 3-0 here for the Calgary Hitmen here. So Calgary Hitmen were up 3-0 here at the first period there by scoring 2 late goals there, stunning the Lethbridge crowd here. Hopefully, is this enough for the Calgary Hitmen to hang on and advance and get to the second round here? Well, Lethbridge definitely didn't come out, laying down here, but in the first period here, we had a lot of shots here as the Calgary Hitmen definitely played the Lethbridge Hurricanes. They outshot them 17-10 there to see who gets the upper hand. And right now, the Calgary Hitmen had the upper hand here. However, the second period, things started tightening up here as, both teams don't want to make any more mistakes here. It's elimination game, and Lethbridge actually got on the board at the 3-minute mark. Just what Lethbridge needed by Zachary Cox, so it was 3-1 for the Calgary Hitmen. And then 10 minutes later, so just past the halfway minute mark, the Lethbridge Hurricanes got within 1 as Alex Cotton got his first of the series. So suddenly it's now 3-2 for the Calgary Hitmen here, and that's how it ended after the second period there. It was 3-2 for the Calgary Hitmen. So the Hitmen had a 3-0 lead, and then Lethbridge scored 2 goals in the second period here. Is this going to set up a dandy for the third period here? However, there was even fewer shots in the second period as it got closer. Lethbridge got closer in the shot clock as they outshot the Calgary Hitmen 8-5 here. And third period definitely got airtight here for both sides here, and Jack Benon definitely stood his ground as Lethbridge was obviously pressing to get the equalizer there to maybe potentially force overtime here. However, the only goal that happened in the third period here was an empty net by Mark Kaslik at the 1941-minute mark to give Calgary a 4-2 win and lead and the 4-2 win here. So the Calgary Hitmen won this game 4-2 and ultimately won the best of 7 series 4-3. And as Brad Curl did say in the past, the play-by-play guy, not too sure if he still says it, he said, "Yabba dabba doo, we're off to round 2 here." So who led the way for the Calgary Hitmen? Well, Carson Fook, he definitely showed up with 2 goals there, and then Jack Manon definitely stood his ground with 25 saves there, while Carl Tekjak for the Lethbridge Hurricanes made 23 saves here. Shots were even at 27 apiece here, and obviously there was a few penalties here because it was an elimination game, and both teams didn't want to make any major mistakes here. So, I mean, even though the Calgary Hitmen did lose the first 2 games of the series there, I mean, the first game was an overtime loss, and then they had a bad first period in the second game there. I mean, essentially it was a fairly close series for both sides here, but ultimately the Calgary Hitmen came out on top. And, you can definitely throw away what happened in the regular season. I mean, games 5 and 6 were similar to how the regular season went there, but considering the Calgary Hitmen were beaten by the Lethbridge Hurricanes 5 out of 6 times in their regular season series here, ultimately got the last laugh here by winning the series 4-3 here. And definitely was a little bit of an upset here because it was a 12-point difference in the standings here. So, who do the Calgary Hitmen take? They ultimately will be taking on the Edmonton Oil Kings. As the Edmonton Oil Kings did win their series against the Medicine Hat Tigers, they won that series in 6 games, 4-2 there. The Edmonton Oil Kings were the divisional winners, and the Medicine Hat Tigers were the first wild card, and they finished 4th in the the Central Division there in the Eastern Conference with the Calgary Hitmen here. So let's look at bringing up the league website here to recap what happened elsewhere in the league, as the Calgary Hitmen will be taking on the Edmonton Oil Kings in the second round in the Eastern Conference semifinal here. So the Eastern Division, the Prince Edward Raiders swept the Red Deer Rebels 4-0 there. That wasn't really a surprise there. And the Saskatoon Blades swept the Moose Jaw Warriors there. Wasn't really a surprise there. So you got the Prince Edward Raiders will be taking on the Saskatoon Blades in the Eastern Division in the other bracket of the Eastern Conference here, in the Eastern semifinal there. That's definitely going to be a heavyweight matchup here. So whoever wins between the Calgary Hitmen and the Edmonton Oil Kings will be taking on either the Prince Edward Raiders or the Saskatoon Blades in the conference championship for the eastern side of the bracket there. And as I mentioned, the Edmonton Oil Kings beat the Medicine Hat Tigers 4-2, and the Calgary Hitmen beat the Lethbridge Hurricanes 4-3. So if you go out to the Western Conference here, and if you look at the BC Division part of the bracket here, the Vancouver Giants, who were the top team, they beat the Seattle Thunderbirds 4-2 there. And the 2-3 matchup, the Victoria Royals beat the Kamloops Blazers 4-2 there. So the Vancouver Giants will be taking on the Victoria Royals there in the Western Conference semifinal in the BC Division part of the bracket. Then the U.S. Division, the Everett Silvertips beat the Tri-City Americans 4-1 there, and the Spokane Chiefs defeat the Portland Winterhawks 4-1 there. So the Everett Silvertips and the Spokane Chiefs will play each other in the U.S. Division part of the bracket there. One thing that's interesting to note here in the WHL playoffs here, every series except the Calgary and Lethbridge series had the higher seed win in advance. So this was the only upset in the first round here when you look at the lower seed advancing. So the Calgary Hitmen definitely pulled off the upset here, and potentially, could they be up for another upset here with the Edmonton Oil Kings? Well, you'll have to watch that in my next episode when I'll preview the second round series. So with the Calgary Hitmen winning here, you're guaranteed at least 2 more videos here, as there'll be series preview with the Edmonton Oil Kings. So I'll try to do that. If you're following along and you're watching this as I upload this, hopefully I'll have my preview series up tomorrow, and then the recap series whenever it ends. So speaking of the series with the Edmonton Oil Kings here, so round 2, the Eastern Conference Semifinal. The Edmonton Oil Kings are the first seed in the Central Division, taking on the Calgary Hitmen, the third seed in the Central Division here. Game 1 will happen on Saturday, April the 6th. The Calgary Hitmen will be up in Edmonton at Rogers Place with a 7 p.m. puck drop. And then Game 2 will happen the next day on Sunday, April the 7th. Calgary Hitmen will be taking on the Edmonton Oil Kings up at Rogers Place again. That'll be a 5 p.m. puck drop. So this upcoming weekend, we'll kick off the playoff series. And then Game 3, when the series shifts to Calgary, will happen on Tuesday, April the 9th, when we host the Edmonton Oil Kings. That'll be a 7 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome here. And then Game 4 will be on Wednesday, April the 10th, where we take on the Edmonton Oil Kings at the Scotiabank Saddledome. 7 p.m. puck drops here. So if you're following along also with the other events that are going on at the Scotiabank Saddledome here, as you know, the Calgary Flames have made the playoffs here, and with the Calgary Hitmen playing at the Saddledome on Tuesday, April 9th, and Wednesday, April 10th there. And then if you follow along with my Roughnecks This Month video, originally they scheduled the game between the Georgia Swarm and the Calgary Roughnecks on Saturday, April the 13th, but they rescheduled that game for Friday night. So I'm taking that the Flames will be playing at the Saddledome on Thursday and Saturday, whoever they draw. So that might give you a hint here where the Calgary Hitmen were slotted in with this series here. So that's the first 4 games here. So if we need a Game 5 here, this will happen on Friday, April the 12th here, which will be back in Edmonton at Rogers Place, 7 p.m. puck drop. If this needs a Game 6, it will be on Sunday, April the 14th. The game will be back in Calgary at the Scotiabank Saddledome with a 2 p.m. puck drop. And just like the past series recapped, if we need a Game 7 here, this will happen on Tuesday, April the 16th. It will be back up in Edmonton at Rogers Place with a 7 p.m. puck drop. Just make sure that if you're going to that game, make sure you cast your ballot and vote in the Alberta provincial election first, because that happens to be election night there. So that's looking ahead to the Calgary Hitmen and the Edmonton Oil Kings up here. So we're going to have yet another Battle of Alberta here. That would be one heck of a series. I mean, this Calgary Hitmen Lethbridge Hurricanes here was definitely physical, had a lot of goals here. But we'll take a look at my preview when I do that next. When I plan to do that tomorrow, that'll be episode 16. And then episode 17 will be recapping what happens between the Calgary Hitmen and the Edmonton Oil Kings in the Eastern Conference semifinal there. So, if you enjoy everything I do on my YouTube channel, just make sure you hit like, subscribe, and I say, let's go Hitmen. I'm definitely enjoying this all this playoff run. This is definitely a nice warm-up before the Calgary Flames playoff here, and it's definitely been a fun time to be a Calgary sports fan lately, because my Calgary Stampeders, they won the Grey Cup. We're the defending champions, and the Grey Cup game is here in Calgary this year. Calgary Hitmen, well, they're definitely been a successful season. I mean, we're playing with house money here now, because they didn't make the playoffs last year, and definitely pulled off the upset here with the Lethbridge Hurricanes. And, you know, I'm going to say, once again, throw everything out the window in the regular season series, but we'll take a closer look at that at the series previewers. But got a Calgary Edmonton hockey series. There'll probably be a lot of fights and fisticuffs here early, and then, you know, the Flames, they're in the playoffs, and the Calgary Roughnecks are going to be in the playoffs when the NL playoffs happens in May there. So, I'm going to say, let's go Hitmen, yabba dabba doo, we're off to round 2, and bring on the Edmonton Oil Kings. We're coming for you. We want that Ed Chanel Cup once again here. So anyway, as I say, I'll see you in the next video, and come see me at my series preview when we preview the series ahead here. So thank you.